After this, Ali came, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf was a key advisor to that. He was responsible in regards to his fatwas and his rulings. He was responsible for the expansion of Masjid al-Nabawi and Masjid al-Haram, which became very crowded in the time of the four Khalifas. It became very crowded and the people were quite tightly crushed together. So we said the masjid should be expanded. He was responsible for the renovation of the houses of the Prophet ﷺ to preserve them for later generations, although they were knocked down in 1925. He was responsible for renovating them, making sure that they stayed for the rest of the generations. He was very insistent that the trench around Medina shouldn't be filled in. The trench after the battle of the trench, that long trench going around Medina, he said it shouldn't be filled in because the Prophet ﷺ didn't fill it in. So we shouldn't fill it in. And it stayed unfilled in until the Ottomans came and said, this is a hazard. Someone could fall in this and get killed. And they filled it in with sand. The original sand. He used to walk by and he saw a gutter that was leaking water onto the street. And someone went by and put it back up. And Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, he said, what are you doing? He said, I'm replacing the gutter to its previous position. He said, don't you know this is a street that the Prophet ﷺ walked down? And if he saw it doing that and he didn't put it back up, don't you put it back up. Leave it alone. And so we had to leave it alone. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf is one of those 10 companions promised the paradise. He is one of those 10. And he is one of what is called the Sabiqun. He's the third person to become Muslim at the hands of Abu Bakr. The first was Uthman ibn Affan. Second was Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. And the third was Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. He was from the Sabiqun. So if you look at the people that came in, Khadija, her daughters, Abu Bakr, Ali, Zayd ibn Haritha, and then you have Uthman ibn Affan, Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. He's between 7 and 8 on that list from amongst the men. One of the early Muslims. When he died, he left behind over 1,000 camels in charity, over 4,000 sheep, 100 horses, and 3 massive containers of gold, and several groves of trees to be harvested. He left behind charity. He left behind enough wealth to where his wives never had to work again. This should be something perhaps in your minds, that if you're going to make money right. Make enough money not just to get by, but if something happens to you, your wife, your children, your mother, your father, you won't be a burden for them. Because sometimes what happens is one of us might die and we become a burden. We don't have our kafan ready. We don't have any extra money left behind. We don't have a will written. And so what happens is when you die, if none of this is done, the coroner and all these people have to get involved. Did you keep up to date with your GP? No. Well, then we have to do an autopsy. So now we've got to put you in the refrigerator, have you in there for 3 days, open your chest up and make a window dressing to look inside and make sure do a toxology report to make sure you weren't poisoned, you weren't killed, you weren't stabbed to death, you weren't shot. You have to look into all these things. Close you back up. We might remove the corneas of your eyes or part of your organs or what have you if we need to harvest them because you didn't get any of that stuff taken care of or checked out. You didn't leave a will, so your house and everything goes into probate, in which the state's going to decide, are we going to sell it? Are we going to keep it? All these other things are going on. They don't know what bills you had, so whatever bills that you had come on to them. You didn't look after your accounts or any of your other business, so all of that becomes their problem. So it's like you being dead is more of a burden than when you were alive. You're more trouble dead than you were when you were alive. So people are thinking, I wish this guy had stayed alive because now that he's dead, he's more of a nuisance dead than he was when he was alive. And that's the problem. You make a bigger mess. So Abdurrahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anhu, when he died, he tried to leave things in the best way possible. So his 4 wives, his children, he had 24 children, they were taken care of, his properties were taken care of, his businesses were taken care of. It's a lesson in being organized. In closing, I want to say this about Abdurrahman ibn Auf. There are the following things that we can learn from Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And they're the following. If someone is thinking about delving deeply into Islamic scholarship, getting involved with scholarship, learning Islam deeply, it's not too late. He became Muslim when he was more than 30 years old. So the beginning of his studies was in his 30s. So it's not too late to say, oh, I'm only 20 something, or oh, I've just finished university, I'm not going to be able to do it. Don't think like that. It's not finished. You're never finished. You're not finished until you're dead. Then it's too late. But you're still breathing, you still got a pulse. You check your carotid artery, you can still hear you still feel your heartbeat. So you still got time. Number 2, the second thing I think you should learn is that Abdurrahman ibn Auf did the right thing with regarding to learn Islam, is that Islam is not learned by pointing and clicking. Islam is learned from the mouth to the ears, from the mouth to the heart. It's learned through people. Islam is learned through people. Some of the most ill-mannered and wicked people, and I mean wicked in the actual Oxford English Dictionary sense, not wicked like wicked, wicked. You know what I mean. Because I don't want to be misunderstood. Oh, he said bad people are good. No, I mean wicked, treacherous, impetuous, useless, depraved, right? All these things. If you look at the people that have learned the Islam through point and click culture, some of them have the most horrible manners that you've ever seen. Because they haven't actually been able to sit with someone and physically learn someone. Because when you learn from someone, you learn their habits. When you watch someone and you hold someone in high regard, you learn their habits. I watched it happen here. When I arrived 10 years ago, no one had hair sticking up spiky with their pants hanging on down. No one had that. But then they were watching one of these footballers. I don't even give him fame and name him, but you know who he is. And he had the spiked hair that was sticking up. And he started doing different ways of spiking it. And so people started spiking it, and the pants went down and the hair went up in reverse order. So the pants went down, the hair went up. And people started doing it. And then all of a sudden he started getting the tattoos on the arms and chest. They had to get tattoos on the arm and the chest. He started taking his shirt off when he scored and tying it around his waist. So they took their shirts off, even if they had big guts, and they tied them around the chest. Because they have to follow their role model. Then what happened? One day he came out and he was bald. He shaved it all off, shaved his beard off, shaved his hair. It was bald. Now what are we going to do? We got to shave it. So they shaved it. Now he's got hair again, but it's parted in the middle and he's wearing suits. We've got to wear suits, got to grow my hair. Start growing the hair, get in the suit, get everything right. Great, gray inside jacket, black outside with pinstripes. I've got to get everything right. So you're learning more from him than football. Even though you might not think so. You're thinking, I just like the game. With the spiked hair, you've got even his shirt on, his team, and you're sitting there. That's all I'm doing. I'm not following him. I'm just watching the game. Yes, you are. You're learning his etiquettes, his mannerisms, his behaviors. And so Abdurrahman ibn Auf, when he studied and when he learned, it wasn't just the knowledge that he took in, it was mannerisms. It was behaviors. Abdullah bin Umar, who later became a scholar, he did the same thing. His mannerisms were so detailed that he even the pitch of his voice changed to where his voice sounded like that of the Prophet ﷺ. Even his mannerisms started to change.